So these days when we talk about cars in the premium executive segment, oftentimes the discussion narrows down to the Mercedes E-Class versus the BMW 5 Series. But this hasn't always been the case. In fact, back in the 80s, when I was growing up right there across that quaint PJ neighborhood, the consideration when somebody has made it to the top or made it to upper management, when they are looking for a car to showcase their success, it is often a choice between the Volvo 240 and this, the Mercedes W123, the progenitor, the ancestor of what we know today as the E-Class. Except that back then, Mercedes did not officially refer to this as the E-Class. E here in the badge stands for nothing more than the German word for fuel injection. As a matter of fact, the E-Class name only came into play in 1993 when Mercedes restructured its model naming convention to give birth to what we know today as the C-Class, E-Class, and the S-Class. So what you see here, this is the 230E model, one of the more popular variants in our market, powered by a 2.3-litre four-cylinder engine with fuel injection. Another popular variant in our shores, of course, is the 200 model. That is the base engine with a 2-litre carburetor-fed four-cylinder engine. Now, the 2.5 and 2.8-litre six-cylinder models are relatively rare in Malaysia due to our road tax structure, but you can also occasionally find a diesel model. They can range from 2-litre to 3-litre in displacement. These were very popular choices for the taxi fleet. Now, this particular example of the W123 is not a common sight on our roads. This is because the owner of this car lavished a no expense spared treatment to adorn it with a whole range of original, period correct, genuine AMG items. Now, during the time of the W123, AMG was not yet officially part of Mercedes-Benz. Now, you see, unlike the story with BMW M that started off as a division of BMW AG, the origins of AMG was basically two Mercedes engineers decided to start their own company, building racing engines, developing accessories, and then after a long time, when Mercedes looked back and said, hey, we like what you guys are doing, and bought the whole company back and integrated it into Mercedes-Benz itself. So during this time of the W123, what AMG were mostly doing is that they were fiddling with Mercedes engines, and also they were developing parts, performance accessories as well. So you can see here these Penta wheels, 5-spoke Penta wheels, 15 inches. Remember, back in this time, 15 inches were considered a sporty option. Now, so these wheels are, of course, very expensive, very precious, very rare. These stickers as well. Now, I'm not sure if the stickers themselves are original, but they were definitely cut to the original design and properly emblazoned into the vehicle. And if you look closely at the wheels, you can see that all these details are embossed, indicating that they are original AMG Penta design. Okay? And the side skirts here, these are original AMG items. The subtle front bumper lower lip with that AMG embossing at the lower edge. And right here at the back, the subtle AMG ducktail spoiler together with the lower bumper lip as well. And we are not even done yet. So the owner has even invested time in procuring all these AMG stickers here, here, and also at the front corner of the windscreen. And if you open the door, you can see the AMG side seals. They are available on all 4 doors, right? Here as well. And right here at the center console, you've got this AMG plug in the middle. Now, one thing I really like and miss about the way they treat cars in this era is that even this, the sportiest possible trim that you can get on a Mercedes W123, the car still looks stately, it still looks elegant. There's no unnecessary flarings or holes or whatnot, right? It's just a simple lower lip here and maybe a slight lowering of the suspension, and that's it. From the front, you still see this classic Mercedes grille dominating the fascia, and it still looks recognizably elegant as an E-Class. Now, here's something pretty commonplace today, but quite unusual during its time. Now, you notice that these badges are all blacked out. This is indeed the original AMG offering at that time, whereby if your Mercedes was treated by AMG, they will black out the badges for you. You see, back during the era of the W123, there was no E63 or E43 that came out from the factory. What you did at that time is that you bought your Mercedes from the dealership, and then you send it to AMG and you pasang all the whatever enhancements, your body kits, your engine enhancements, and whatnot. So back then, you can have your 230E, your 280E, you send it to AMG, they will fiddle with the engine, or they will pass out the body kits on it, and they will put this AMG badge right here. Now, this is not an AMG related touch, but these days, 3D sculpting of taillights are the trend. Well, Mercedes started this whole thing, well, I think half a century ago. Even the models preceding the 123, they already have this rip effect on the taillights, and it's continued on even into the successor models. Now, the modern Mercedes taillights, incidentally, are a bit more flat on the surface. They are doing all the effects on the inside with all those funky lighting signatures. Now, those of us today accustomed to living in high-tech cabins may find this classic interior, well, rather plain. But back then, even with only mechanical knowledge at their disposal, Mercedes still finds ways to impress. Firstly, the quality here is fabulous. Now, I believe these seats were probably reupholstered before, so they may not be representative of this car's original quality from the factory. But check out this neat little trick. This is the armrest, right? So, unlike the normal approach of pulling it down, what you do is you pull it from below and it settles down. To reinsert it, what you have to do is you raise it up and you push it back. So even the armrest operation, Mercedes decided to use the unconventional way. Now, the door card here is a relatively plain door card by today's standards. You still get a grab holder here. There is powered windows here, and of course a retractable ashtray at the side. But well, there's no rear air con blowers, so it's mostly the quality in here that you admire, the way things are put together, like this velour roof. Wow, to me this is just classic, you know, 1970s 1980s stuff right here. This shows us the kind of standards, the kind of surroundings that people of this era deem to be luxurious. Compared to the E-Class of today, this is a technological simpleton. But here's the thing, because in this era, the manufacturer does not have any technology, does not have any fancy screens to hide behind, all they have to differentiate themselves from a Toyota Corolla of that era is quality. The controls, the tactile feel, the way the surface is finished, the way things fit with respect to each other, that is how you showcase that you are a superior product to everything else in the market. Now, the W123, even by Mercedes standards, has some rather interesting design quirks with regards to its controls. This particular example, of course, is fitted with the original AMG steering, AMG Sport steering. So from my perspective, sometimes when I look at the instrument cluster, part of this fuel gauge gets obscured. And you notice this is an AMG instrument cluster. And check this out. In converting the W123 to right-hand drive, what we now come up with is that here, as the steering is centered, but the instrument cluster is slightly offset to the left. Okay, so it's a very simple instrument cluster. You've got a speedometer that reads until 200 kilometers per hour, tachometer, the analog clock that still works showing the correct time, fuel gauge, oil pressure, and water temperature, and also fuel consumption. Even right here, you can see the warning lights. There is a brake pad wear indicator here as well. Now, this is something that I have been having trouble getting used to. The ignition switch is placed here at the left. And the interesting thing is, in the left-hand drive model, the ignition switch is placed at the right. And not only that, the signal stop is on the right side here, but in the left-hand drive model, it is on the left side. So when Mercedes did the conversion from left to right-hand drive in its design, they went as far as mirror the signal stop as well as the ignition switch position. Here is the headlight rotary switch, and you can see there's the parking markers. So you put it here to activate only your right lights, put it here to activate only your left lights. This is only for use when you are parking the car in a dark, narrow road, so that you can illuminate the side of your car for other people to see. This is the parking brake. So this is engage. To disengage or to release, you turn and release. This is release. This is activated. So here, very simple aircon controls. Got 2-zone temperature control. Driver side, passenger side. This is of course aftermarket, this Kenwood single DIN system. Power window switches here, right here in the middle, and a rarity. This is a 5-speed manual. At this time, Mercedes were mainly still offering 4-speed manuals in their cars or automatics, but here, this particular example comes with a 5-speed manual transmission. Now here in the middle, this is a 3D printed accessory. So I'm going to put this at the side first. So the original configuration of the car is just this storage space right here that you can pretty much use it however the way you want. Right here, this is a drawer, opens up to an ashtray. Wow, with a cute cigarette lighter. Okay. Here is the glove box, opens down like that. So you can see here there's a cup tray here. I believe this is not for you to use when the car is moving, but rather when you're stopped having a coffee break, you can use this to hold your drinks for a while. All right. So this is an additional. This is just a little buzzer, hazard light switch, all 4 power windows here. There are now, back in the days of the W123, not all of them had all 4 power windows. I have seen examples that come with manual windows. So this was a time where power windows were an option, and this car came with it. So up here you can see this is the sun visors here. All right, lovely. It's just so lovely to see that this car, despite its age, over 40 years old, the quality, the solidness of it is still apparent. This was really built back in the time when, you know, Mercedes really made their cars with zero compromise in its engineering and its quality. Okay, now, so I've driven some pretty expensive cars in my lifetime. Some of them are worth millions. But even with that context in mind, I do feel a certain sense of trepidation, of nervousness, as I am entrusted behind the wheel of this rather unique specimen of a W123. Because W123s, you can still find them in the marketplace. There are a number of them for sale. But to get one and build it to this condition and spec, well, that is a completely different undertaking altogether. There may not be even parts in the marketplace that will enable you to recreate this spec to this level of detail. So I am being extremely cautious driving this, especially now in this rainy weather. In fact, I can even sense that the bag was trying to come out and play in that bend earlier on. So yeah, gotta be very conservative behind the wheel. We have to understand one thing in assessing the merits of this car is that back in its day, what people expected, what people's benchmark of what constitutes luxury motoring is vastly different to what we have today, because back then there was a lot less emphasis on sportiness, on dynamics. Yes, this car is dressed in AMG body kit, but its behavior, the flavor of its driving is unashamedly comfort biased. This is still a car that you can carry about your business in the most relaxing, most comfortable way. The ride is smooth, it's supple. The engine, well, this is not a V8 screamer from AMG, but it is one built for the rigors of day-to-day driving, at least in the context of the era, because I observe, like as I am pottering along, say in third gear, 2,500 RPM, there is that torque on standby that if I were to flex the accelerator pedal, the car is ready to go. And I have to say one thing, it is a shame that the current gen Mercedes seem to favor the newer avant-garde front grille design, because right now as I'm driving this guy and I look at that three-pointed star sitting proudly on the bonnet, and I put myself into the shoes, into the frame of mind of that businessman that just scored his first million and rewarded himself with a Mercedes-Benz, and he looked at that three-pointed star sitting proudly on the bonnet, I'm pretty sure that's got to be a very special experience, a very special feeling that every time when you drive, there's that symbol on the bonnet sitting right there reminding you that, dude, you have done it, you have made it. This car is such a contrast to many of the more modern Mercedes models. See, my recent experience with Mercedes cars is that, you know, forget the full-blooded AMG stuff. Even if, let's say, we were to talk about an A250 or a C250 with AMG line suspension, you'll be looking at a pretty jarring ride. So now, by today's standards, the W123 is not a particularly remarkable car to drive. But this particular example, with all the care, all the meticulousness that was lavished in building it, that makes the experience of being in this environment truly special, because the love and the attention to detail from the owner, it really shines through in all these little details that adorn the car, and also the way the car responds to your inputs, to the surroundings. You can just feel from the way the car behaves, all the steering, all the bushes, the screws and whatnot have all been tightened to the finest degree. And that is an aspect of experiencing a classic car that makes the whole experience magical. Because if I were to jump into another W123, the experience will probably be vastly different. I'll end my video here right now, and of course, the usual thing, do share with me your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. But before I end, I'm going to just let you admire up close the many beautiful details of this car. I'll see you in the next video.